Hi everyone, welcome to Nishad Karim Art. Today I'm going to be doing a video about paintbrushes. I'm going to try to address everything you need to know about paintbrushes. The parts of the paintbrush, the different kinds of paintbrushes, and the sort of marks you get from different paintbrushes as well. At the end of the video, I'll try to show you a couple of my favorite paintbrushes and the sort of special marks I get from those paintbrushes. So stay tuned for a couple of tips. If you like the video in the end, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Enjoy. Okay guys, so I have here a variety of paintbrushes. I'm just going to start off with this one here just to talk about the parts of the paintbrush. So generally, you have the handle, and handles can be made of different materials and they come in different lengths as well, different shapes. So we have the handle of the brush. This part of the brush here is called the crimp, and that crimp is the bit that holds on the ferrule, which holds the bristles. So the crimp is basically a machine that's used to crimp the ferrule onto the handle so that it holds firmly, and then the ferrule is the bit that holds the bristles of the paintbrush. So you have the handle, the crimp, the ferrule, and the bristles. There are other parts of the brush. Some people might go in a bit further to say the heel of the brush, where the heel is the bit that meets the first set of bristles that comes out from the ferrule. And yeah, so that's basically the main parts of the paintbrush. So just a few things to mention. Bristles, you have different types of bristles. You have bristles that come from animals, and you have the synthetic type bristles. So you have bristles that could be made from hog hair or squirrel or even sable. Sable is the most expensive type you can find. And then manufacturers now use synthetic bristles like nylon, which can get the same effect. It sort of imitates the animal-like bristles, or even bristles that could be used for watercolor, hog hair, and so on, acrylic, and for oils as well. So quite a few artists currently use synthetic bristles because you can get the same sort of effect with using animal hair in holding pigments and releasing colors and so on, but also in terms of pricing, it's a lot more cheaper. So that's the parts of the brush. Now there are many different kinds of brushes. I'll just go through some of them. So for example, here we have a long rigger, and riggers are naturally used for trees and for making long thin strokes. This is another variety of rigger here. I have a really thin rigger here, and this rigger, again, I use my riggers mostly for trees and for fine detail. This is a pointer, and it just basically is for just using really small detail marks. With riggers and with any other brushes, they come in different handle lengths. So for example, this number one that I have, it's a really long, it's a number 2, sorry, it's a long handle, and you can get long handle and short handle. That's another variation in brushes. The handles can vary, and in terms of the size, there are no specific standards for sizing. Different manufacturers use different sizes. So for example, this is a number 2, whereas with Da Vinci and maybe with somebody like Rowney or Pro Art, they may have a similar number 2 that might be twice the size of this. So there are no standards in terms of the sizing of the handles and the brushes. So that's a rigger, and another rigger, variation of riggers here. This is a short handle, and this is a Winsor & Newton one. It's a watercolor one. Here we have a simple round, and this is a small round. You can see the tip, it's a bit round. This is a fairly new brush. When brushes are new, you can see the point remains. Once you keep them safe and you wash them properly, then you can maintain the tip, which is key, because sometimes you need really thin lines when you paint. So that's a round as well. This is a short handle, and this is a synthetic brush. Most of these are synthetic brushes. This is another round, it's a larger size. Roy and Langnickel brand. This is a nice one as well. I use this for acrylics a lot because it's quite stiff. I like that. This is another round, but this is hog hair. And you can see the hog hair, you can tell it's a sort of white color, and you can see it's really stiff for oil and for acrylic as well. Really versatile brush. So we have the riggers, the rounds. I have here, this is the one I explained the parts of the brush. This is a filbert, and you can see the shape of it. It's a bit curved at the top. That's a filbert. And I do have other small sizes of filberts here. Let me see. So I have another filbert here. So this is a smaller filbert. This is a Pro Art filbert, hog hair again. And they are also very handy. In a video following up from this, I will show you, I will demonstrate the types of marks you get from these various brushes. So that's a filbert. I'll leave this one for later. And then we move on to flats. So I have here, this is a flat, and again this is a short handle, and I have a smaller a watercolor flat here. This is really soft brushes, and this is a roundy brush. It's a smaller size. And then I have a really thin one, and this one is more for oils. It's a long flat, and this is a long handle. It's a Da Vinci, so I use this for my oils as well because it's quite sturdy. And here's another variation to this side, a very small one. This one is a nylon one, number 2. And then we have our fan blenders, or some people say fan brush. This is an hog hair one. I use this for oils and for acrylics, and that's a short handle. This is a long handle one. You can see it's a Cotman's Winsor Newton, and this is a watercolor one. It's quite a soft one, and it holds quite a bit of water, which is really handy when using watercolor. Now this is a mop brush. It's a squirrel hair mop. This is one of my more expensive brushes, and the good thing with this is it holds a huge amount of water. So sometimes if you want to put down cover washes for large areas and so on, this brush is very useful in putting on long wide areas, basically holding lots of water. And the good thing about this brush, you can see the handle, the crimp in this one, it's a bit different. It's actually, you can see it's handmade, and the ferrule as well. It's a bit of a hard plastic material because this is a different makeup brush, because it's sort of like squirrel hair. I think that's how they designed it. I do have some smaller versions to these as well. These brushes, they're quite expensive because they hold so much water. I have another Japanese brush here. This one, again, I use this for lots of watercolors again, and I can also use this one for oil and acrylics. The bristles in this one, they're quite sturdy as well. So that's a variety of small brushes in terms of the materials, the types of handles, the bristles, the shapes, the riggers, the rounds, pointers, filberts, flats. We have mop brushes and fan blenders or fan brushes. Now these are quite small brushes, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these to the side, and I have these bigger brushes that I also use. Now you may be wondering, some of these brushes, they look a bit strange. Some of them might be a bit familiar. Now this is a huge modeler brush. I just use this basically for covering wide areas, for priming canvas, or for pulling down areas of color, and just to cover with washes quite easily. So So that's quite easy. This is a normal household hardware brush. Similarly with this one, this is a nylon brush that I also use for oil and watercolor. There's another long handled brush. This is a brush I got in an automotive store. This is used for cleaning engines and so on. And I'll go through a bit more in these. This is a smaller flat brush and another hardware brush. And you can see this one I got from IKEA, which I've had for a while now. And my most precious brush of all, the old shaving cream applicator. So this is one of those shavers brushes, and you can see it's quite worn and it's twisted in a certain direction. Now what's important about these brushes, especially, it's the bristles, and you can see that they're quite they're not new, they're quite worn. But for me, these brushes give really special marks. So in terms of making trees, if I'm doing grass or bushes or reeds, these brushes, they make excellent markings. And again, in the follow-up video, I'm going to show you the type of marks that I get with these brushes. Quite often you will hear people saying, oh, you know, it's good to have new brushes, always keep new brushes all the time. That's the furthest thing from the truth, because when your brushes become worn and you use them, when the bristles turn a certain direction or they twist or they bend a certain way, then you get really special marks. And it's having brushes that can create a variety of markings. That's what's really important in terms of the picture output and how you make your markings and how your painting ends up basically. This one I use most of mine because I'm a landscape painter. These are really handy for doing trees. Most of these again for grass. This one I get really fine grass. This one again for small trees. Absolutely amazing for trees and for grass. This one is I use this for watercolor to get really nice if I'm doing large trees, large areas. This one is amazing. And again, these are just for washes. So there you have it. There are many more brushes, different types, but these are the basic one that I use. I have a huge array of brushes that I use and I have in my studio to get different marks. I mean, as you use the brushes, you will know exactly which brush makes what mark, and when you need that brush to make a certain mark, it's something really handy to have in your artillery, especially as a landscape painter, or any painter as a matter of fact. So, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Remember, subscribe and give a thumbs up.